gentlemen, sleuths of the night, once again, we gather in search of the truth, dark, and mystery. It's the Drunk Turkey Show.
Big development today in the investigation into the murders of 4 University of Idaho students. According to state and local officials and court documents, 28-year-old Bryan Christopher Kohberger has been arrested. He was arrested and arraigned this morning in Pennsylvania.
We have new details on what Bryan Kohberger was doing right before his arrest. Police says the tactical team burst in to arrest the Idaho murder suspect. He was in pajamas and latest gloves, stuffing trash into Ziploc bags.
Hey, greetings from the year 3000. It still sucks. This is Philip J. Pride, and you're listening to the Drunken Turkey Show. Your one stop for this sort of thing. Hit that button, like and subscribe. You know what to do, just like every other podcast.
I hope you guys heard that. Just like every other podcast, what is up, everybody? Welcome to a Sunday edition of the DT Show. You know, before I got on here, I was talking to a good buddy of mine, and he sent me a picture of a beer he was having. And I was like, man, that looks good. I'm going to join you. I'm going to go live, but I'm going to join you. Here's to you and your family, my man. All righty. Man, it's been a while. It's been a long time since I've had an adult beverage. Man, probably over a month, if not longer than that, to be honest with you. Welcome, everybody, to the show. Like, comment, subscribe. You guys know what to do. We're going to be going into the Bryan Kohberger case. It's like 600 documents, a little bit less than that. I think it's like 556, something like that, to be exact. Documents that were dropped from ISP, Idaho State Police, referencing the Bryan Kohberger case. A little bit of a tell-all, so to speak, of some of the interviews that they had, some of the tips they went through. We're going to go through some of those. We're obviously not going to go through everything. Today's going to be part 1, and we're going to start off with the victim's residence, the crime scene, some of the early interviews and investigation into the case. And then probably tomorrow, I'll go into the Bryan Kohberger stuff that has been dropped out of this. There's quite a bit, a lot more than I expected. I had told you guys beforehand, several months, if not years ago, and I was aware of some of the things that Bryan Kohberger was doing in college or at the University of Washington, and that he had stalked people. He followed people to their cars. He had basically positioned himself in position so that way he would prevent people from leaving. He would basically block people into his offices, etc. And I've been saying this for a long time. This is no shock or surprise or secret from anybody here who's been watching the DT show for some extended time. We've called out a lot of the things that he was doing. This is where some of this stuff where I've come up and said that Psychic Daniel was making an appearance. Some of it I knew, a lot of it I deduced, the majority of it I deduced, but some of it I knew, and some of the stuff that I did know was these interactions that Bryan Kohberger had. And after reading some of these, I didn't know everything, that's for sure. But before we get into the actual documents and everything else, in which I do want to say this, there's a good thing that I wanted to read through them and go through them, because I took the word of others, so to speak, that have came out with the information ahead of time. Some of the mainstream media had it, and it's just not everything that they said was quite 100%. So I do want to clear the air, and I'm glad that we got to see this and read it for our own selves, so that way we can figure out what the correct narrative is. All right, before we get into it, I want to draw some attention to this article that was just dropped. I think Deb dropped it in the Discord. Thanks to Deb, and Chloe's been helping me out too with all the reports. I want to thank you guys. Deb put this out there. This is from the Citizen Portal, and this is reference a town called Rathdrum out in Idaho. This is where Kaylee's family is from, or where they reside at. And I think they're from California, but they've lived here in this area for some period of time. And there was a meeting back in August 13, 2025, and it was centered around the naming of a new street and park associated with the upcoming City Hall's new project. And so they had a bunch of names that were coming in and out. And the mayor actually introduced the idea of naming the park after Kaylee Jade. And it goes on to say that The mayor introduced the idea of naming the park after Kaylee Jade, a local victim of the tragic incident in Moscow. The suggestion sparked a discussion about the potential for future parks in honor of her memory, reflecting in the community's sensitivity and desire to memorialize those lost. Ultimately, the council voted to name the street Wicklow Road and the park Kaylee Jade Memorial Park, demonstrating a commitment to honoring local history and community segment. The council also discussed the ongoing City Hall project, which is pressing toward a groundbreaking ceremony expected in September. So congratulations to the Goncalves family for the memory and the name of the park being named after their daughter, Kaylee Jade. It's a small token of, appreciation that they had for the Goncalves family and for Kaylee and her ultimate loss that she ended up going through, and a great way to memorialize her and the other victims. So kudos to the city of Rathdrum for doing this. All righty, guys. So without further ado, let's break it down. Now, I'm not going to go in order. You guys know me. Let me put it this way. I'm going to go in a understandable order. The documents start off with interviews and a bunch of other stuff. I want to start off with the crime scene. I want to start off talking about the crime scene. And then once we get an understanding of what was seen, what was said at the crime scene, then we can take into effect all of the interviews that were taking place after the fact or shortly after. Okay. So this is actually going to start off on supplement number 32. And this is going to be on page 91 of 556. And this is going to be the crime scene and the description of said crime scene. Let me see if I can make this bigger. All right. We did. All right. So I'm just going to read the highlighted parts. A lot of it is going to be just like police jargon on X amount, date, time, address, yada, yada, yada. So let's get to the most important parts. It says here, the sliding glass door located in the kitchen, second floor near the house, near the rear of the house, on the rear of the house, was open, and there was a set of footprints in the melting snow leading into and away from the residence. Now, this is on November 13th at about 12:22 p.m. So this is the day of the murders. I know a lot of people, especially in the comment section, a lot of people that are a little bit ignorant or don't understand things, who are maybe watching some of these other channels who aren't giving you the whole truth, come in with this, oh, there was no snow. They don't understand that no snow in the front yard doesn't mean that there was no snow in the backyard. And the reason I say this is because, well, the house was on an incline, right? And there was some pretty heavy foliage or trees in the back of the house, meaning they provided some bit of shade. And, well, if the sun's not directly impacting the snow and it's somewhat cold still, it'll take longer for that snow to melt versus where the sun may have been hitting in the front of the yard where there's a lot less trees. And there the snow wouldn't be prevalent there. So we looked at that, and as of November 13th, this is at 12:22 p.m. So about 30 plus minutes, after the 911 call, or 20 some plus minutes after the 911 call, there is footprints in the melting snow leading into and away from the residence. There was one shoe print near the western edge of the property leading west into a neighbor's yard. The front of the residence, north, where 5 vehicles belonged to the deceased residents. So this kind of gives us an idea of northeast, west, and south. So the house is actually facing northbound. So it's facing north. So you would think, and that would make Xana's bedroom on the west side. And I would say probably Maddie's and Kaylee's on the east side of the third floor. All righty. Sometime between the early morning hours, Blank was awoken from her room door and heard a male say, "It's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you," and crying. Now, up until this point, we haven't really heard anything that Dylan has said. We've heard a lot of summaries of what Dylan has said, a lot of possibilities of what she may have said. I know that there's the possibility that maybe she didn't say this at other times. Maybe she told this person that's taking the interview that she heard the intruder say Kaylee. It may have been summarized and that part be redacted out of other things when they said that I'm here for you or I'm here to help you. We don't know exactly what she said, but this here says it's in quotation. So I'm only going to assume that it appears that Bryan Kohberger did say, "It's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you." Or at least Dylan Mortenson at this time thought that that's what she had heard. I know some people are going to say, well, maybe she didn't because this, she didn't tell this person or that person this or that. We don't know exactly what she told these other people. This is in quotations, which means this is something that she exactly said. And, to me, when we go through this, we're going to find out that there was no blood on Kaylee's door. There was no blood inside her bedroom. There was no blood anywhere near that area. So if Bryan Kohberger had gone to Kaylee's bedroom second after attacking Maddie and Kaylee in Maddie's room, there would have been some sort of blood there, on the door and stuff like that. There was even blood on Xana's door when he was walking in. They talked about it being shoulder length height, things like that, and some transfer blood as if they kind of bumped into the wall or something like that. So for that to not be prevalent at all inside of Kaylee's room, told me that Kaylee's room or Kaylee's door was opened first. And we're going to find out a little bit about where possibly Murphy was located in the bedroom when Bryan Kohberger opened that door, because I don't think he saw Murphy at all. And I think that the reason why he assumes, because let's work this backwards real quick. So if this is true, then Bryan Kohberger is assuming that Xana, who Dylan has said she hears who she thinks is Kaylee, go up the stairs and then back down the stairs. But she says she hears that interaction happen with Murphy. So Murphy went up and down the stairs. So Murphy had to come down before then. Now, if he's assuming, why is he assuming that the person coming up the stairs is Kaylee? Well, Dylan had kind of indicated that she heard some music, singing. She could hear the dog going up the stairs with who she thought was Kaylee. Now, if Bryan Kohberger had opened Kaylee's door first and saw Murphy, my suspicion is that, one, I think that kind of puts a wrench in your plans. You're probably going to have to close the door. As much as he doesn't want to touch doors more than once, you're probably going to have to close the door. And two, I'm assuming that he's thinking that Xana is Kaylee because she's coming up the stairs with Murphy. And so had he seen Murphy beforehand, then he wouldn't have made that assumption, wouldn't make that connection that the person walking up the stairs with Murphy is Kaylee. Now he says here, it's okay, Kaylee, I'm here for you. Now that kind of indicates that maybe perhaps she was the target into this. I think the main target. I think there was multiple targets in this. Even if, let's just say this was the case, that the sole target was Kaylee, then there's no reason for him to go into Maddie's room. Unless, obviously he's searching for Kaylee, but I don't think he notices that that's Kaylee in Maddie's room. Why would he connect those dots? Kaylee has her own bedroom. It's dark. It's hard to see, right? So he's probably assuming that this is somebody not from the house. Maybe a family member of Maddie's or a friend or a sorority sister that lives outside of the house that's in bed with Maddie. So that just leads me to believe that regardless of who the main target may have been, he may have had the entire house as a possibility for being a victim of his. And so he goes into that bedroom and then he hears Xana coming up the stairs because she's playing music. Murphy's barking. It's a louder interaction because Dylan can hear it happening. And so he hears that. That's probably what stops him from doing anything, or stops him from, let me rephrase that, stops him from what he's doing already and causes him to forget the knife sheath. And so then he turns his attention towards Xana. He thinks it's Kaylee, possibly because of Murphy. And Xana runs to her bedroom. Dylan hears footsteps. It sounds like, to me at least, like he probably kind of gave chase there after Xana and then attacked her as she walked into the room. So, but let's go on to continue this. She goes on to say that she then shut her door, and a short while later, she opened the door again and saw someone approximately 5'10" or tall, 5'10" tall, dressed in black with a ski mask, standing in the kitchen. She made eye contact with the person and could see that they were Caucasian through the cuts for the eyes. She shut the door again and texted Blank, whose bedroom is on the, I'm assuming this is Bethany, on the first floor, and told her to join her in the room. And Bethany and Dylan ran downstairs to Bethany's room where they fell asleep. At about 5 p.m., After a search warrant was signed, prosecuting attorneys Bill Thompson and Ashley Jennings entered the scene and conducted a walkthrough. As they entered the north-facing first floor door, they observed the following. To the left, east was a staircase to the second floor and a small hallway. As you go up the stairs to the second floor, you're into a small living room area. There was a folding table set up on the west side of the area, partially blocking the entry to the west hallway. The table had multiple red Solo cups on it in a game formation, beer pong, along with a small steak knife. Now, this is the knife that Hunter Johnson had gone when he went into the house. When the 911 call came in, he went in, grabbed the knife, searched the house, and then put it back or left it on that table. It goes on to say there were multiple areas of red liquid on the table that appeared to be blood. As I walked west from the living room, there was a half hallway to my right. I could see multiple drops of runs of red liquid along the entire halfway. So that means that the person that was moving with a purpose, and they were dripping blood, and those multiple drops were falling into the hallway. Across the half hallway north, I saw more red stains on the wall above the first and second staircase. The stains were liquid and consistent with cast off and appeared to be blood. So for it to be cast off in that area, what is probably occurring, and this is why I said he was moving with a purpose and he was chasing her, is that cast off comes from when somebody moving fairly quickly, and he's not stabbing anybody there. There would have been a lot more blood. For there to be cast off, that's blood coming off of his arms and his body as he's moving with a purpose, with speed behind it for it to cast off. So he's chasing her. This gives us a little bit of a hint of what's going on here. He's chasing her and he's bumping into things as he's doing it, and it's dark. On the north wall of the hallway near the bedroom door, there appeared to be a red colored transfer mark approximately at my shoulder height. So again, he kind of bumps into the wall. From the living room, I looked into the west bedroom and I could see a female Kernodle lying on the floor in the center of the room. Her legs and arms appeared to be covered in blood. As I entered the bedroom, I saw multiple drops of red liquid near the entrance and multiple red coloring drips on the floor above and below the doorknob. A male, Chapin, was laying in the bed, partially covered by a blanket and comforter. Now, for there to be these spots of blood in the manner that they were, leads us to believe that the door was open the entire time. His neck and chest were heavily covered in red liquid. Multiple walls appeared to have red-colored cast-off. There were multiple areas on the floor with pools of red-colored liquid. All of the red-colored liquid appeared to be blood. Kernodle appeared to have multiple cuts to her hands, arms, and face. Chapin appeared to have a deep cut to the outer portion of his knee and neck area, to his right knee. So, outer portion, I'm assuming that's like the knee pit area. Because it was supposedly behind. So just below the hamstrings is where he had a deep cut into the outer portion of the knee. Let's see. Exiting the bedroom, walking east, there wasn't any visible interest in the bathroom. Outside of the bathroom door, there appear small drops of red liquid near the baseboard. A small smear of red-colored liquid on the south wall with a hair stuck to the wall. I wonder whose hair it was. Obviously, it wasn't Bryan Kohberger's or somebody else's outside of the victims, because then this would have been a reason to have an alternative suspect if it was somebody else's. South out of the living room was a small step down and a bedroom immediately to the left. South was a staircase to the third floor and a small storage area under the stairs. To the right, west of the kitchen. The kitchen counters were cluttered with dirty dishes, orange containers, and fast food from a Jack-in-the-Box labeled Xana near the sink. The sliding glass door was just over halfway open. On the outside of the window on the south wall were 2 handprints and a possible face print on the glass. There was also red-colored drips on the north side of the cabinets near the sink and a red-colored liquid drop on the floor. The red-colored marks appear to be possibly blood. So it appeared that Bryan Kohberger at some point may have actually changed here. Or he was carrying a container. Maybe he put the container down. I would assume that he may have ripped off the outer layer of something, maybe the Dickies pants before exiting, or the Dickies, because the cast off would then drip there. Because it sounds like he didn't go straight to the glass. It's towards the I'll bring it up. Let me bring it up now. Let me pull up the crime scene photos real quick, and we'll look at the kitchen real fast. So that way we can take a gander at this and see what it looks like. Kohberger case. All right. Crime scene. Okay, give me 1 second. I'm about to pull the... All right. So this said that the cast off was on the... there was also red colored drips on the north side of the cabinet near the sink and a red colored liquid drop on the floor. All right. So over here in this area, kind of where you also see this glass stuff on the floor. You see this debris here? Whatever this is that broke, maybe there was a piece of plastic or could have been glass and he stepped on it or something. But I remember they're seeing there was blood on some of the drawers here from the other angle. I can't tell it from here, but it apparently was pretty near the that maybe. Don't know. But it appears that he came to this area for something. Maybe that he's responsible for this debris. If there's blood on this area, quite possible. All right. On the as I walked south up the stairs, they switched back to the north, and this is the staircase going up to the third floor. On the center wall banister were red-colored liquid smears. They appear to be blood smears. At the top of the stairs was a small hallway directly to the left. West was the bedroom, Goncalves. The bedroom was clean with the bed unmade and a black-colored coat lying on the ground next to the bed on the left side. When looking from the front of the bed, partially behind the door on the north wall was a wire dog kennel. There didn't appear to be any blood inside of the room. So behind the door was the dog kennel. So let's just say that that's where Murphy slept. I'm assuming the kennel was open, but let's just say he was comfortable enough to go in there even when the kennel was open. Like I have several of my dogs, when they get tired and they go sleepy, they go sleep in their kennel. Yeah, I don't close it. It's open. That's where they like to be at sometimes. And if Murphy was in there and Bryan Kohberger opened the door and the door partially covered the dog kennel now, well, that would have obstructed his view when he opened the door. Now, a lot of people, including myself, because I've said this too, I was like, well, if he opened Kaylee's door first, because I'd had this dialogue with myself multiple times now, this conversation back and forth of which door he opened first or who is the target. And I thought that if, he's getting into the house around 4:08, 4:09, he's up there about 4:10. Xana at earliest is off of TikTok at 4:12 or interrupted on TikTok at 4:12. Document that has come out says 4:16. It's a TikTok warrant that came out after the PCA was written. So I'm assuming that's probably more accurate. It makes more sense that if she's turning off her phone at 4:16 and is then going up the stairs, that by 4:17 you would hear the disturbance in her bedroom. And it sounds like they were moving with a purpose as well. So, a full minute to get from her bedroom, up the stairs and then back, and moving with a purpose is probably going to not take that long of a period of time. So my thoughts are, when Bryan Kohberger opened the door, he did it silently. He probably didn't wake up Murphy. Murphy probably stayed asleep through that and woke up at some point during the altercation that was occurring in Maddie's room. He may have stayed. The other thing we have to encounter or have to take into effect is the fact that he's a puppy and he may have been frightened and may have taken him some time to build the nerve to run out of Kaylee's room and into Xana's room. We don't know those things, right? So if he got woken up like at 4:12, 4:13, and he's kind of just panicking up there until 4:16, then he books it, down to Xana's room. I mean, that's quite a possibility. And then that starts the whole process there. On the right side, the east of the hallway, it ended with a bathroom. To the south of the bathroom was a small bedroom, Mogen's. There didn't appear to be any interest in the bathroom. So it doesn't sound like he opened the bathroom, didn't look into it. He left the doors open, the ones that he touched. There was no blood on it. So it sounds like he was pretty direct in the areas that he went. As I entered the bedroom, there was a bed directly to the left. The bed was where Goncalves and Mogen, they were covered in a beige-colored comforter with a large pool of red liquid near the center of the comforter. Multiple walls on the ceiling had multiple areas of red-colored cast off. Mogen had multiple visible cuts on her face. Goncalves had severe trauma to her face and visible cuts with a large amount of dried red-colored liquid on her face. They appear to be aspirated, I apologize, blood coming from her mouth near Mogen's left. And that's probably what we're seeing on the wall. When me and Steve from True Crime Web, retired CSI investigator, we looked at the crime scene photos, and that's kind of what he was thinking as well. Near Mogen's left hip was a tan-colored sheath, partially covered by the comforter. On the door edge, I saw multiple red-colored transfer smears. The upper mark was approximately my shoulder height. All red-colored liquids from the room were consistent with blood. Again, this sounds like Bryan Kohberger may have accidentally hit something with his shoulder on his way out to make this smear. And then they talk about some of the different evidence that was recorded. They had a shoe print casting located west of the residence near the fence line. There was these latent prints that were on the window. That's the one that we had shown. Probably not related to Bryan Kohberger. A gray-colored iPhone located on the floor next to Kernodle's left side. And there was a pink-colored iPhone on the bed on the second floor of the west bedroom. So that is where Chapin was. So it appeared that Xana was on Ethan's phone when she was walking. That's weird. Because the pink-colored iPhone was on the bed. So if she was on the bed looking at TikTok, Murphy comes in, she puts the phone down, and she grabs Ethan's. Or maybe she puts them both down. Or she puts Dylan says she heard singing and music. So I'm assuming that was coming from a phone. Huh. This one's interesting. So maybe she left the phones there and was just singing on her way up there. Ran back to the room, tried to grab a phone to call 911 and grabbed Ethan's phone. And that's why that one ends up on the floor. That one's, I got to think about that one a little bit. Because I'm assuming that the pink colored iPhone would be Xana's, and the gray one would be Ethan's. That's just an assumption. I could be wrong. But it sounds like maybe perhaps both phones were on the bed and she attempted to grab one to call 911 and she grabbed Ethan's. A black colored iPhone located on the nightstand on the floor 3 on the east bedroom. That one's Maddie's that's Maddie's phone. K-bar knife sheath located on the bed of the 3rd floor east bedroom. Mogen was on the bed, so was Goncalves in the east bedroom. And there was I believe there was another one. I thought I saw a blue or something like that colored phone underneath Goncalves' head on the bed. Right here, blue colored iPhone located under the head of Goncalves. So that's probably hers. Maybe she did have music on. Maybe that's the music that because I do this sometimes. I'll put my either podcast or music and I'll put the pillow or put it under my pillow so I can hear it so it doesn't wake up anybody else. You know what I mean? At 8:15 p.m., Short's funeral home, along with Latell County coroner and assistant LCC, arrived on scene to remove the body. So the bodies were removed that night. I know a lot of people were, when were they taken out? When were they taken out? Well, they were taken out there. Latent print collected from doorknob on floor 2 west bedroom. A lot of blood swabs. Blood swab collected underneath Kernodle. Blood swab collected under the folding table in the living room. This is the beer pong table. It says collected on the kitchen floor near the north side of the cabinets. Connected on the banister on floor 2 and 3 stairwell. Collected from exterior door from floor 3 east bedroom. and from the wall. The east bedroom is Maddie's. The west bedroom on floor 3 would be Kaylee's, and there's nothing in here for the west bedroom on floor 3. There's a pink colored laptop, west bedroom floor 3. That's Kaylee's, not blood related. A silver laptop as well. Blue colored latex gloves located in the trash cans on the second floor. Huh. I didn't see that one when I was going through here. Interesting stuff. Interesting stuff. This is the crime scene and how it went down. All righty. So let's kind of go back to the top. And we'll go through some of these things together that were in here. We're going to start off with some of the interviews. Now, the interview I want to start off with first is Dylan's. That one's statement. That's supplement 3. And then we'll go back up to this one. I'm on 2 still. My bad, guys. All right, supplement 3. This is on November 17th, and this was taken in her Boise, Idaho, at her residence in Boise, Idaho. So she's moved, and there's going to be some instances of some back and forth when it comes to timing. Now, I know that it was reported that she had reached out to the DD driver like at 3:12, and the Kohbergers were like, "Oh, she was up at 3:12 a.m." She was doing something. Well, she was in Boise at the time when she was talking, and she was pulling up her records. Boise is a different time. It's an hour ahead than Moscow, and so it was showing her what it was local time. So it would have been 3:12 in the morning Boise time, but it was actually 2:12 in the morning in Moscow. So there's where some of the confusion is, but I'm glad that we were able to point that out. All righty. So it goes on to say that she'd been residing in the residence where the incident occurred since August 22. Her friend and she moved into the residence, and the other female roommates she knew through their sorority. And I'm assuming her friend is Bethany. She explained Kaylee was a senior at school. And they talk about what they were doing on the 12th. And they had been partying on the day before, leading up into the morning of the 12th. And then when they woke up, they started drinking pretty early on the 12th, going into the 13th. When asked about how much alcohol she consumed, she explained that she'd been playing Rage Cage, which she described was a drinking game. And when she awakened from her nap, she consumed 3 White Claws. She denied there was any drug use and stated Xana and Ethan used blank. She advised neither Maddie and Kaylee did drugs. She explained nor blank never touched that stuff. At approximately 2 to 3 a.m., she awakened because Maddie and Kaylee arrived at the home from the grub truck with food, and they had mac and cheese, which she explained was normally what they got. All 4 of them were together, which included Maddie and Kaylee, Bethany and her. Advised that they were taking selfie videos. The girls talked about getting grub truck food. She did not believe Xana and Ethan were home because their bedroom door was open and she did not see them. She discussed whether she may have been mistaken about this fact. And then she said she was certain she saw their door was open and then they were not home. She then went to bed when she realized that she was texting Blank, the Uber driver. Blank looked at her phone and determined the time she had texted the Uber driver and said that her phone said 3:10. But after further discussion, Dylan admitted she was some confused about whether she was using Moscow time or Boise time. And Dylan explained that her timeline may be off by an hour because of the issue, specifically during the interview referencing Boise time instead of providing the time it would have been in Moscow when these events were occurring on the 13th of November. And the reason why she's doing that, the reason that that's happening is because she's looking at her phone to determine when things happen. She's seeing the time that she texts, and it's showing her that time because that's the time it would have been in Boise, even though she was in Moscow at the time. She explained she uses Snapchat as well as her cell phone to communicate with her friends. She advised the Uber driver is in his 30s and married and has 1 child. The girls knew him and liked him. Dylan advised she is not certain if she stayed awake to watch more Vampire Diary episodes or she went to sleep. She was not certain if she locked her bedroom door, and she was not certain if she locked the sliding door. because she was the one who usually did. But she also volunteered in her statement that she believed Moscow was a safe place, so the sliding door was not always locked. She does not remember if anyone locked the sliding glass door before she went to bed. She was the first to go to bed ahead of her other roommates. She explained that she previously had a lot of dreams where she was kidnapped in her dreams, and she further explained those type of dreams started in high school. Dylan explained she was awakened to some noise at some time between 4 and 4:20 a.m. At 4:22, she confirmed this by going through the text communication on her cell phone. She texted Kaylee asking her what's going on. She advised her phone said 5:22 a.m., which would have been 4:22 Moscow time. She advised around 4 to 4:20, she heard Kaylee singing and playing music. She believed Kaylee walking up the stairs, and Dylan advised she heard Kaylee say, "Someone's here," and she sounded frantic. Dylan described Kaylee's tone as somewhat between talking and yelling it. She believed it was Kaylee who was walking up the stairs with Murphy. So Kaylee was walking up the stairs with Murphy. Murphy would have had to have come down at one point for him to be traveling upstairs. That's all I've been saying to kind of determine, which door was open first. She said she heard who she believed Kaylee running down the stairs. She advised Murphy was barking at this time. She does not believe Murphy is normally a barker. She further stated she believed it was Kaylee who was running down the stairs after she heard her say someone is here. She further explained she does not know if she actually heard this or whether she was drunk and did not actually hear any of this. She heard the footsteps of who she believed was Kaylee. She explained all the girls were Doc Martens and that what she believed what she was hearing was Kaylee coming down the stairs wearing her Doc Martens because of the sound of the footsteps coming down the stairs. That was probably more likely Kohberger. He was the one wearing boots. You can kind of tell based on the shape of the shoe that, from outside, the ones in the snow, that it looks more like a boot. And Xana was not found wearing shoes. But if she was going harder, maybe that would make the sound a little bit, deeper. Dylan then explained she first opened the door and she said she did not see anyone. The second time she opened the door, she heard who she believed to be Kaylee, and Dylan believed Kaylee was on the second floor bathroom. She then heard a male voice, which stated she had never heard before, say, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." See, this is also in quotations. It's okay, I'm going to help you. I wonder how much stuff that she actually did here. It's okay, I'm going to help you. Kaylee, I'm here for you. It is quite different. Could it have been, "It's okay, I'm going to help you. I'm here for you, Kaylee," or something? I don't know. I have no idea. Dylan believed the unidentified male was in the bathroom and the person who was with the person who was crying. She believed it was Kaylee who was the one crying. Dylan ceded now that she has gathered additional information, now believes it was probably Xana who was crying. At the moment of her crying, she stated she believed it was Kaylee who was crying. She advised she knows the male's voice was not Ethan's voice. She's not certain whether she heard Murphy barking during the first time she opened the door, but advised it was possible he was barking, but Murphy was moving away from the house. So a lot of people have been kind of going back and forth with me on whether or not the dog barking outside was Murphy. Kaylee's door was open. They found him in Kaylee's room with the door open. The back sliding glass door was open. Murphy was, unless somebody cruelly left their dog outside in the freezing temperature all night, Murphy's the only dog that we're aware of that had access to go in and out in close proximity to be heard on the camera 50 feet away. It was most likely him. I would be willing to bet a lot of money. All right. Then here, Dylan hears Murphy barking and going away from the house, moving away from the house. So the barking's getting lower. So it was louder. Now it's lower, moving away from the house, meaning outside. She advised she opened the closed door a total of 3 times. And the 4th time when she left her bedroom to go down the stairs to Bethany's bedroom. She advised she never thought about an intruder. And in her mind, she stated she was not processing what was occurring as threatening. But she was scared. So that is the one, kind of things that go back and forth. But she didn't know what she meant. She didn't know what was going on. She advised she believed the male was directing his conversation, who she believed was Kaylee. She advised she did not believe the male was directing the statement to her. The 3rd time she opened the door, She said her vision was blurry or fuzzy, but she did advise she saw a figure of someone that was dressed in black, and they were masked, and he was holding an item that she initially perceived as a vacuum. But she said that it did not make sense to her. She described the suspect as not being muscular, but skinny and toned like a basketball player. She further described him as being taller than 5'10" frame by at least 3 inches, so he would have been about 6 foot. She advised that he had heard her call Kaylee and Xana, as she thought he would have had to have heard her calling for them, as she was confused as to why he did not come to her room. So she called out for them. She called out for him, and she called him on the phone. The phone calls didn't start happening until after he had left. So calling out for them is a vocalization out the door. She described the item the suspect was holding, which she advised was cylinder, and she remembered a cop talking about a bow. She was trying to ascertain if what she saw, in fact, shaped like a bow. Further stated that she thought maybe it was a firefighter because of what Bethany told her about seeing a firecracker. She advised he would have been approximately 3 feet away from her, and she believed she saw him walking out the back. Sliding glass door. He had looked at her before walking out the back door. She was not certain if he could see her whole body or just her head. Dylan explained she saw the suspect holding something she believed to be cylinder-shaped and also shaped like a triangle at the bottom of the cylinder shape. She advised the suspect was approximately 3 feet from her, and he looked at her but was walking out the sliding glass door when she saw him. She said she saw his eyebrows. I'm starting to think about this, right? What if that was something like that was something in Xana's room that nobody knows is missing? Because, yes, there was something sticking out of it. He had the knife sheath, whatnot. I mean, but, for him to walk in with a container and a knife sheath in the sheath, that's a lot of stuff to walk into a house. And, I mean, I don't know. Maybe he hit something and he took something because he feared his DNA was on it, and he used it as a bag and put stuff in it. Maybe. And it sounds like he was in the kitchen, not necessarily right there in the doorway, heading towards the back sliding glass door. Maybe he did change, and maybe he did leave a bag there in the kitchen when he made entry. And maybe perhaps that was what she saw. Dylan advised when she left her bedroom, she looked down the hallway to Xana's bedroom, and she could see Xana laying on her back in her underwear. She thought at the time Xana was passed out. She stated she never went into Xana's bedroom and could only see Xana from the hallway as she was running to get to Bethany's bedroom. She advised she was too scared to go into Xana's room, and she knew Bethany was awake, and she knew to go there because she was scared. She saw Xana was wearing underwear, and she explained Xana was comfortable enough with the roommates that she would wear underwear around them. When asked about the lighting conditions inside the residence, she advised it's possible that Xana's bedroom light was on or the party lights were on, and that's how she was able to see Xana, because otherwise she would not have been able to see her lying on the floor without any lights being on. She was not certain about the bathroom lights were on, but she was not certain that lights were on, if any. She advised Xana did not say anything. She stated she did not think anything was wrong. She later offered she may have been able to see Xana lying on the floor because they had also had a Sensi light that could have been what was able to see Xana from the Sensi light. She described the item the suspect was holding as cylinder shaped, and it was triangular shaped. She could not remember the lights were on or off when she encountered the male suspect. She denied perceiving a threat even after the encounter of the male in the hallway. She said that there were people coming in and out of their house all the time. She denied remembering what his face looked like and said that she could see his head and mouth were covered. She could see his eyebrows and further advised that she was not certain she could see his nose. When asked if she knew what a balaclava mask was, she said no and asked Sergeant Blaker to show Dylan a picture of a balaclava from his cell phone. Upon looking at the picture, she said that could have been it. She does not remember seeing his mouth or nose, but she could see his eyebrows. When asked if any of the roommates told her about prior incidents involving anything that concerned him, she advised Kaylee had told them and the other roommates about an incident a month prior when she was outside with Murphy and a subject who had been watching her. The subject was in the apartments above the girl's residence, kind of where the area where they believe that Bryan Kohberger parked at. Also, 2 to 3 weeks ago, the roommates went to a Starbucks together. When they got home, their front door was wide open. They did not believe it to have been open when they left. She explained there had been prior issues with the front door. I wonder why they had prior issues with the front door. So she said it was possible the door opened because there had been a snowstorm, and she explained possibly the wind caused the door to open. Also, when they got to the home, the washer was going. What she described was not unusual, but also concerned her. She explained this because of the things that they went to get Ethan's gloves to protect themselves when they searched the house. So it's not unusual for the washer to be on, but it seems like it was something that concerned her. It's probably something that none of them remember turning on. Now, Bryan Kohberger allegedly had broken into other people's homes. One of the person's homes that he had broken into allegedly was Nayoung Ko, where he had done some weird things too. Put a cake in the microwave and moved her cosmetics on her toilet seat. In my opinion, that was a way of fear, a little bit of fear. I wouldn't be surprised if Bryan Kohberger was watching and enjoying watching them walk around with golf clubs and the fear that he created. She advised she knows what she heard, especially about hearing who she believed Kaylee crying and the male voice telling her he was there for her. See, this is where that part comes back. Male voice telling her he was there for her. When asked why she believes she was spared after the male suspect saw her, she said she does not know why. She does not believe anyone ever tried to open her door during the time that he was in the house, and he could have easily done so, and why he would have passed her room multiple times. A lot of the same questions we had asked. She advised that the suspect would have known her room and would have had been occupied because he appeared to have known the layout of the house. She also said it could have been someone who was in the house last year or when the girls were not living in the house. Dylan offered her DNA. She advised there might be difficult to locate the offender's DNA because they had conducted a deep clean of the residence leading up to the parents' weekend. When asked when the deep clean of the residence occurred, it would have been the weekend of the crimes, before the weekend of the crimes. That actually would have helped, but she's a little bit naive. She doesn't know. You don't know what you don't know. All right. So if they cleaned up the house and got rid of people's DNA that were there beforehand, that would have left a better chance for them to have caught Bryan Kohberger. But she don't know that. She advised that she was confused about why the offender would have taken the patio door out of the residence because of the drop from the patio. All right. So it goes on to say that, this is like the next day, right? At 11:29, she texted Kaylee, are you up? She could tell from her Snapchats they were not being read, and she was texting them through Snapchat. When, I believe this is Hunter, got to the house, which she described was before noon, she was not certain if he came through an unlocked front door or had to use the code to the front door to get into the residence. And when he got into the residence, he was asked about the location of the knife. She directed him to the knife. I believe that's Hunter, and it sounds like the door was closed. There's some other documents in here that sound like that front door was closed. I know that there was one witness, and that's the thing about witnesses, right? Eyewitness testimony is not that reliable. It really isn't. I mean, you can't hang on every word because of what they see, because sometimes it's just, especially if they're not meant to see it. Like, it's one thing for like Dylan. She's going through an experience, and even at that, she was unsure about what it was. But like, for instance, Hunter, he's going through it. He's aware. He knows what's going on. There's scare. There's fear. Those type of things. Somebody walking their dog, they see a door open. They may have gotten confused. There was a whole conspiracy with Shakur back in the day because a witness who saw him get transported by ambulance accidentally said a helicopter came and picked him up. And because of that, a lot of people started this whole conspiracy. He was alive and this, that, and a third. There was a helicopter. We have a witness that said they saw a helicopter, even though she later said she meant to say ambulance, but for whatever reason said helicopter. Nobody cares about that, right? They just care about the fact that she said it once and now there's a conspiracy. So kind of the same situation, in my opinion, I think here. All right. So let's see. Let's go to supplement 1. Because supplement 1, here it is. And this is an interview, and this is with, actually, I believe this is with Hoodie Guy. And so he was with the victims the night of the incident. But before we get started, I want to say thank you to a few people. We have Didi Fuentes coming in with a gifted Drunk Turkey Show membership. Thank you, Didi. Cyberg Mama coming in with a member for 3 months. Thank you. And we have Deidre coming in with $19.99 super sticker. Thank you, Deidre. I appreciate that. You guys are rock. I appreciate you guys so much. All righty. So let's continue this. Hoodie Guy said that he knew some of the homicide victims. He knew Maddie and Xana. And he had met Kaylee the night before the homicides, but did not realize she was one of the victims until later. He did not know the male victim, Ethan. He had known Maddie since their freshman year, and they had the same pledge and fraternities at the same fraternities and sororities on campus. Okay, it goes on to say that he ran into Mogen at the corner club. Mogen and Goncalves were going to leave the bar to go to John Alley's and asked, I'm believing this is Showalter, if he wanted to go with them. On the way to John's Alley, Mogen and Goncalves decided to get food at the grub truck instead. Blank was at the grub truck with them, but was hanging out in the back because he did not want to get any food. He thought it took him about, he goes, someone in a silver sedan picked up Mogen and Goncalves. He assumed it was one of their friends. He told Mogen to have a good night. The designated driver's shift had already ended approximately 2 a.m. Showalter had a good coat on, so he walked home. So he messaged his DD driver, and his DD couldn't make it, so he had to walk home. Thought it took him about 20 to 30 minutes to walk home from the grub truck, got home about 3 a.m. and went to bed. Showalter showed on the map the way he walked home, and the way he described did not pass the residence of the homicide. On November 13, he woke up about 10 a.m. to watch football. He thought it was weird because he drove past the scene on his way to Floyd's Cannabis, and he didn't see any police or anyone hanging out of the ordinary. This was about 10 a.m., so this is about an hour and almost 2 hours before the 911 call. During the morning, people called him to see if he knew what was going on down the street at the homicide scene. Didn't believe them. Showalter didn't believe them and walked outside to see. Showalter had to walk down the street to see the residents of the homicide or the scene. The rumors of an unconscious person, which seemed to be believable. Goes on to say some of the family members of the victims started letting people know about the homicide before the news did. Goes on to say that he'd only been to the residence where the homicide took place maybe once. And this was, remember the 4 people that Ann Taylor wanted to blame? I believe this is one of them. He'd been there. He knew him socially. He was with them the night before. Been to the house. Meets all the bill. Was in walking distance. When did he go there? He was pretty sure it was all different people living there. He had heard there was a party there earlier that day, and some of his friends went to. Showalter said doesn't usually go to parties. He usually goes to the bar. He heard rumor that there was a party at the victim's residence earlier. Kernodle, sometimes would get a little crazy with partying and blank. Mogen Goncalves prior to that night. After the incident, he heard rumors that Goncalves of having a stalker. Here, there are videos of the grub truck of Mogen and Goncalves. Grub truck live streams on Twitch. News outlets identified him from that video and have called him. So this is not why one of the reasons why I believe that this was Showalter, amongst any other reasons. He was walking and stuff. With the consent, I collected buccal swabs from him and had no apparent injuries to his hands, forearms, neck, or head areas. And that was the end for him. Now, this other one is there was apparently a guy that did get kicked out of the corner club. And this is the guy. And apparently he was friends, or he was somewhat loosely related to Mogen. They went to class together. He didn't really know who Kaylee was. He got super drunk. Apparently he took a photo with Maddie. He doesn't even remember that. He said this is the first time that he ever hung out with Maddie outside of class. He did get kicked out. I guess he got a little handsy with some of the other persons. But goes on to say that he, Mogen, and somebody else were in marketing at the university and worked together in group projects. They were working on a project for blank, which was a cafe in town. I'm assuming this is Mad Greek, which is a cafe in town Mogen worked for. When they worked on their projects together, they would meet and work in the basement of the Albertsons building on campus. He didn't have a car and walked wherever he needed to get around campus. He rode the bus home to Boise and borrowed his brother's pickup while he was in town. He also didn't have any injuries to his hands, arms, or face. And he consented to a DNA sample, which they took from him. All right, supplement 4. Let's go to that one. So we already read 3. And from here, we can kind of go in order. But it was good to talk about the crime scene first, in my opinion. So that way we can talk about what the statements are relative with also knowing about the crime scene in mind. Okay. Supplement 4, which was a neighbor. And here it said on November 18th at 12:42, Idaho State detectives met with blank regarding the homicides. This female lived at blank King Road. So one of the houses along across the street from 1122 King Road. So this is somebody just across the street. She knew Madison Mogen and Kaylee Goncalves the best. Her boyfriend was best friends with Madison's boyfriend. She heard from another friend of incidents from the house at 1122 being open after all roommates returned from a weekend trip. So there was another moment where they turned from a weekend trip and that the door to the house was open. She has a basement room and can see the 1122 King Road house from it. She woke up at 9 a.m. on Sunday morning. She didn't hear or see anything that night. 1122 didn't have a party Saturday night, and they may have had one on Friday, but it wasn't crazy. So this person looked outside, can see since as early as 9 a.m. the King Road house is looking directly in front and does not say anything about a front door being open. Nothing about the front door being open. All right, the next one. Now there's a couple of these that I think there are definitely Jack DeCour's roommates. Is one of these Adam? Maybe. I have 2 of them that I think could be Adam, and this one could be it. November 18th. This was another interview. Took place at the residence located in Mule, Idaho. It says he is roommates with blank. He has known Kaylee since freshman year. They were in the same pledge class, so they have hung out together periodically over the last 4 years. He has visited her house in Coeur d'Alene once. He knew Xana as well, but not as well as Kaylee. He also knew Maddie as well, but they didn't hang out a lot. Kaylee and blank had been dating since high school. They're on and off and broken up twice. They had recently broken up because she accepted a job in Dallas. So they were selling things before she left after that semester. They broke up about 2 months ago. Hold on. Now, I don't believe this is Jack because I believe he's visited her house in Coeur d'Alene more than once. Blank works at blank. He works at Moscow and he saw Kaylee, Maddie, and blank leave together that night. That was the last time he saw them. So I'm assuming he's working at the Corner Club in Moscow and he saw Kaylee, Maddie, and somebody else leave together that night. They said they were going to John Alley's and they were trying to get some friends to go with them. They didn't end up going there, though. He had seen Xana at some parties, but didn't really know her well very personally. He tried to recruit Ethan into his fraternity, but otherwise didn't really know him. Blink wouldn't have harmed Kaylee. He loves her and thought they would be married. He doesn't have a knife, and he's never heard Blank even say anything bad about Kaylee. Obviously, he's talking about Jack. So this person is close to Jack that I believe works at the Corner Club, which would align with Adam. But I don't know if it's him. It could be another person. All right, next one is supplement 6 that we're going into. And this one is a female friend. All righty. So this is somebody this is a girl who worked with group projects at Blank Sorority and knew Xana Kernodle. They're mutual friends and knew Ethan Chapin. This goes on to say, I asked Blank if she was around the victims the night of the homicide. Blank was with her friends and Blank began their night at John Alley's. Took a phone call from Goncalves to come down to the Corner Club. And then Sergeant Cortez asked if they had any further contact. She didn't and fell asleep in the room. She goes on to say that she thought that Goncalves was in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and she told her to come back. She thought Goncalves came back Friday and showed people her car. She did not believe they did anything Friday night. She says during the interview that the sliding back door was considered the front door to people who would visit. The detective asked her if there was anything else that she can think of that can assist. She mentioned how she would hear the dog Murphy bark, and she never heard him bark that night. Had the television on and thought she had gone to bed around 3:30 a.m. She would be able to hear of anybody going back to the house since the windows are really thin. I think they meant thin. Blank could hear conversations in the backyard. She didn't hear any dog barking, but she was asleep by 3:30, about an hour before the dog started barking. This is a back neighbor. Goes on to say her her backyard abutted the 1122 King Road. She was closest with Mogen and Goncalves. Says Goncalves was out of town for most of the week, but had decided to come back near the end of the week to go to the Pi Phi formal on Friday with one of her roommates. Friday night, Goncalves had asked her to go to the club, which she did not. She did go out on Saturday to the game day celebration about 2 to 2:30 p.m. at the big blank apartment. She left and went to the game approximately 4:40 while Goncalves and Mogen stayed at the party. She met Goncalves at the corner club at around 11 p.m. They had a small run-in with Blank at the corner club, who was kicked out of the bar. And we talked to, he's been interviewed twice. He has 2 interviews in here, and he's given up his DNA and phone and things of that nature. He was not the person. So she was up to approximately 3:30 and did not hear anything. She woke up Sunday morning approximately 7:30. She had been in a different room than her own. She and her roommates made breakfast around 8:30. Later, she went to her room. She could see a lot of police cars next door. Goncalves' old room was where Kernodle was living in. Goncalves recently moved into the room on the 3rd floor. Maybe that's why he also thought that was Kaylee's room, because Kaylee had just moved to the 3rd floor. Bryan Kohberger had been watching that place for a long time. She had booked tickets with Goncalves to go to Europe together approximately 3 weeks prior to the homicides. Goncalves had recently sold a white Subaru sedan for approximately $6,300 to a man using Facebook Marketplace. Goncalves had just purchased a Range Rover the previous day. Goncalves was making good money, but a Range Rover seemed expensive. Goncalves was recently offering to buy drinks with friends quite often. Now, this is kind of alluding that maybe she had some income on the side or something, and that's bullcrap. I'm sorry, but that is. The purchase of the Range Rover and the amount is in here. So she purchased the Range Rover for $24,000. $24,000. It's not an incredibly a lot amount of money. And she put the $6,500 that she got as a down payment. And so the 24 then drops down. What is that? Like 15.5. And then, 16.5. I'm sorry. From 24, you put $6,500 down. I'm way off on that. Like 18 something, right? And then her grandma puts another $1,000 down. So in reality, it's closer to $7,500 down off of $2,400. So I mean, in reality, she financed $17,000. Like, what do you guys? What the heck? That's not out of this world for somebody who was, making. I think it said that she was making somewhere about almost $4,000 a month. I mean, this is 2022, so before all the crazy interest hikes and everything else that was going on. So, she probably had like a 3 to 4% interest rate on a 17,000. I mean, even at 5 years, I'm going to have $300 a month, maybe. Like, come on now, guys. That's what you would expect for somebody to have for their first car. And she had some problems with it. It's a Range Rover. It had a check engine light right when she bought it. I felt it was heart-wrenching to read because she She loved her car and had a check engine light. She called upset about it, and she just gotten it, and then this ass goes in there and takes her life. I just feel so bad for these victims and their families. They had so much ahead of them. So much. I mean, they just made plans to go to Europe. They just bought tickets to go to Europe. She was planning on moving to Dallas, start her career. It's just so heartbreaking. It goes on to say that Goncalves had planned to move to Texas and had a temporary male roommate arranged down there. Goncalves had an ex-boyfriend who is her neighbor. So they lived all close together. People often use the sliding door as the main entrance for the house. She does not think it was usually locked. Goncalves and Mogen did not use drugs. She did not know Kernodle enough to comment on. The neighbor's dog behind them also did not bark at anything that night. So here we find out that there was at least one other dog. But the thing is, too, we have to realize that at 4:17 a.m., it's freezing. Sunday morning, I mean, unless the back neighbor, who I'm assuming the law enforcement went to go talk with, hey, did you ever let your dog out that night? If they're not working some crazy weekend hours, probably asleep at 4:17 a.m., probably not letting their dog out at 4:17 a.m., probably not leaving their dog out all night so that he could bark at 4:17 a.m. in the freezing elements. The Kohbergers will come in all stupid. We have no evidence that this happened or that happened. And I'm like, there's context clues. Don't be dumb. Read between the lines. Do some math it up a little bit. Add the things together and figure it out. You can deduce a lot of this. You don't have to be stupid and just say, we have no evidence. I mean, the Kohbergers are the type of people that would come at me and say, if I told people that, hey, I think it rained earlier. I see dark clouds in the distance. I see water everywhere on the ground. It smells like rain. Oh, there's no evidence. We didn't actually see it rain, so there's no evidence of rain. And get out of here with that stupid crap. People are stupid. All right, let's go. Where are we? On 8? This one I thought could have also been Adam. So let's see. On November 18th, approximately 11:36, Homeland Security did this interview. The interview took place at the home located in Parma Canyon County, Idaho. Blank was friends with Goncalves and Mogen and was also their neighbor across the street at Blank King Road in Moscow, which it depends, right? I mean, you're looking like directly across at the apartment complex that were known as the Whites, or are you looking at the 119, 127, 1127 King Road, which is King Road, right? They lived on King Road, the victim's residence, but it was because it was in the backyard of the house that was in front of them, essentially, or in the same property, which is the one where the camera was taken, the camera light. So you have those things. So could it have been him? Maybe. I mean, it seems like the area. He didn't know all the other victims. Goncalves was in an on and off dating relationship with one of Blank's roommates. So Jack DeCore. So this sounds like somebody that lives in Jack DeCore's house, which Adam did. And they were in the same fraternity. He knows Goncalves a little more than Mogen because she dated Jack, and he said their relationship remained amicable. After approximately an hour, all right, hold on, it says here, Blank and his girlfriend were at the house on Saturday, November 12th, went to the victim's house around 10 p.m. At approximately 10:45, Goncalves and Mogen got a ride to the corner club located at 202 North Main Street. Blank believed they got a ride from an Uber named Blank. He is friends with and went to the corner club shortly after the girls left. Approximately an hour, spoke with Goncalves and Mogen briefly while at the corner club before they left. See, this is what makes me think it's not Adam and the other one is. Because the other one, it sounds like the person worked at the corner club as well. This doesn't sound like that, although it didn't appear that Adam was working that night. He was on camera in the bar, like in the bar area hanging out, not behind the bar. Blank told the two girls they were going to John Alley's. Blank saw they were heading out with another student identified, I'm assuming this is Jack Showalter, and saw them leave the corner club with Blank, and told Blank the two girls did not typically hang out with. Blank and Blank thought it was odd. Blank and Blank walked to the Blank house at approximately 1:30 and stayed there. They woke up the next morning, Sunday, November 13th, went and got breakfast and drove to his house at approximately 11:45. There was only one police vehicle in front of the residence when they drove by. Blank went outside with the other roommate and watched more law enforcement respond to the scene. Blank ran to the victim's house, and they were approximately there for an hour and a half before returning, visibly upset, and told Blank and Blank some of the girls had died, and Goncalves was one of them. I'm assuming that is Jack DeCore went over there, but it sounded like Jack was immediately asked to go to the station and answer some questions. Maybe it wasn't so immediate. Blank clarified he and Blank went to the grub truck on their way to the corner club to the house. He also saw on social media Goncalves and Mogen went to the grub truck after he was there. Blank said that he had been woken up between 4 and 4:45 because Blank and Goncalves, I'm assuming that's Jack DeCore's and Goncalves' dog, had been barking very loudly and uncontrollably. It sounded as if the dog was outside, which was odd because of how cold it was and the dog not being an outside dog. Blank did not know the two roommates were not injured and found it odd that they were sitting in their rooms and slept through the incident. So I don't know. Maybe that one's Adam. Maybe number 5 is Adam. I don't know. All right. Supplement 9. Nothing of interest. 10, nothing important. Now let's go to 11. And again, some of these don't say anything. Oh, we knew him. Some of it's saying the same thing over and over again. We saw him at the corner club. They went to the corner club. So it's not really anything that's new. All right, number 11. And this one is a neighbor, also a neighbor. So this goes on to say that I asked Blank, this is the person they're reporting, where her house was in relation to the victims. They said that both houses shared a backyard with a chain link fence separating the 2 yards. Blank said that she had heard from one of the girls that they went to Coeur d'Alene for a week. And when they returned, they noticed the rear sliding glass door was open. Did not know the date of the incident. So this is a different incident from when this is more consistent with the other supplement report that said that there was a weekend trip. And when they came back, the door was open. Dylan had mentioned a situation where they went to like the Starbucks and came back and the front door was open. So it seems like there was multiple incidences where they had left and came back and either the front or the back door was open. All right. Supplement 12. Okay. And this is somebody that lives in Moscow and his house is across the street from where the homicide occurs. Goncalves dated a friend of his, and they were in a fraternity together. And so I'm assuming this is another friend of Jack DeCore's. Blank said, I'm assuming it says Jack didn't talk to him about his relationship with Goncalves. Jack worked at the Blank, and the Blank, he thought Blank may have quit the Blank, whatever that means. He also knew the other victims, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Kernodle never had gone over to his house a few times to see his roommate, Blank from last year, but transferred schools. He didn't really talk to Mogen, but knew her by first name. The other 2 girls, Blank and Blank were younger, and he didn't really know them. He didn't know Ethan well. His house was 3 stories, so I'm assuming this is the house that is 119. I want to say it is the one where you can see the they were up that night. And you can see the white Elantra passing by behind it on the 911. I mean, on the video from 1112 or 1112 King Road. You can see it pass by in the back. I think this is the house because this is a 3-story bedroom, 3-story home. Said never noticed anything out of place near his house or the victim's house. Said approximately 11 p.m. he got to the corner club and was there at the corner club. He saw Goncalves, but couldn't remember if he saw anyone with. She was with anyone. He stated he wanted us to know Blank heard a dog barking around 4 a.m. Blank reported this to the police the following incident. Blank did not have any injuries to his hands or arms or face. So this is somebody that they looked at and wanted to make sure that they were clear. All righty, where are we at? moving along. 13. This one's another person that heard Murphy barking. Says, I asked if he had heard any noises that could have woken him. He said no. He did say his friend told him he heard a dog barking between 4:15 and 5, and it sounded like Murphy. Murphy was a dog who was shared between the two houses. Said Murphy was at the girl's house that day. So this is from somebody that lived very close. They asked about the any stalkers, and they constantly ask any of the friends and roommates or friends and neighbors if they had heard about anything with stalkers, and they talk about the Winco thing happening. Then they also said they returned their sliding glass door was open. So this is another instance where they talked about the back sliding glass door open. Let's see. Next one is, and apparently, so this one also says that I asked Blink if there was any other information he feels we should know. He said that he had heard from, I'm assuming this is Dylan or somebody, that one of the girls was downstairs when she opened the door. She saw a person in a ski mask and made contact, slammed her door and locked it. And so those rumors about somebody seeing someone started very early. I mean, this was November 18th. And so just within a week, we got the information like this. This was exactly what we got. That somebody on the first floor saw somebody going up or down the stairs and was wearing a mask, and they closed the door and locked it. Nah, me and Blue and Jaime, we didn't believe it. We're like, come on. Somebody saw a guy in a mask and they didn't call 911. That's where we were at that time. This is a former roommate of the place. She lived in the room that Blank is currently in. Madison Mogen is the only one currently in the house that lived in the house last year. So I'm assuming this is the person who Kaylee took the bedroom from. Shira Goncalves was walking her dog once and seen someone hiding behind a garbage dumpster. Goncalves felt somebody had been watching her. This was a month prior. Okay. Next one is, and that's the only thing of interest that came out. This one's the former roommate also, or a different roommate. This one says she graduated in May and her name is still on the lease. She planned to return to Moscow for work. It says boyfriend. So I'm assuming her boyfriend's name is there, was living there as well. She would often visit. The last time she visited was Halloween weekend. Towards the end of July, Goncalves texted and asked if she could move into her room. She told her yes, because she decided not to go back to the house and stayed in Boise. I asked about other times the glass door was found unlocked or open. Blank told her a while back they had all gone out. When they came back, they noticed the slide door was open. The girls were usually pretty good at making sure the doors were locked. Most people would use the front door. Only close friends would use the sliding glass door in the kitchen. Talked about the Winco and also the dumpster again. Kaylee had mentioned this to this person as well, that somebody at the dumpster was watching her. And it says here that she was home alone at the time when this occurred. All right, number 16, nothing here. Number 17. And this one says here that she saw Goncalves post on, this is another witness that saw that Goncalves posted on Snapchat with Mogen at the grub truck. Now, there's some other witnesses that talk about their Snapchat maps being on and things of that nature and being able to see people. If Bryan Kohberger, which we don't know what he had access to, we don't, because his phone was completely wiped. The Bernhardts from Cellbrite have had several interviews where they talked about how Bryan Kohberger's history between October 12th and November 16th were just wiped out. Completely wiped. There was some stuff that was saved, some downloads and things of that nature, but a lot of it was wiped out. So could he see that Goncalves was posting on Snapchat? Could that have been the reason why he chose that weekend? Because he was able to see that she was back in town. What is up, Steeler fan? Coming in with their membership for 22 months. Not freeloading anymore. All right, let's continue. She had heard about a stalker, but she heard it could have been for any of the girls at that house. She had heard about a man that used to follow Goncalves on her walks with her dog. Also been seen around the dumpster. Spent a lot of time with Mogen, Goncalves, and Kernodle's house. If she needed to borrow something, Mogen would text her the door code, but they would often leave the back door open. So would just walk around the back and go in often. Usually the people who went to the victim's residence were known by their phone, by other people in the group. Seems like the back sliding glass door was always left open and unlocked. And so there's like a big gap here. All the way to... Oh, man. Past the crime scene stuff that we already did. All right, page 116 is where the next stuff is. They have a lot of tips and things. Oh, you know what? I want to show you guys this one just to show you guys I did all of them. All right, let's go to page 293. I want to show you this one real quick just to show you guys I've read all of them. On December 29, 2022, I was contacted by blank, stated she has 2 children who attend WSU University and were at the house, 1122 King Road, the night prior to the murders. Would not put me in touch with her children, nor she'd provided me their full names. Primary communications with blank were collected via text message when downloaded and entered into evidence of this report. Sounds a lot like WSU Mom Kim. Not saying that's her, but she did make contact with them a lot. She said she talked to the Idaho State Police. That's what she told me, that she had a specific Idaho State Police detective that she spoke with. Sounds a little bit like that. When I read this one, I was like, is this WSU Mom Kim? Is this her? If this is, let me know. All right, let's go back then. Okay, so we are on page 116 now. And we're almost done, guys, with today's stuff. This is the stuff leading up to Bryan Kohberger's arrest. The next stuff will be all about Bryan Kohberger and his arrest and everything else. Pam, yeah. All right, so this one says on November 23rd. Oh, this one's interesting. So this one, I think a lot of people are pointing in at this one as being possibly like Jack Showalter's place. They went to a residence and they tested multiple red color stains. Presumptive positive test for blood. Red colored stains in the bathroom sink near the toilet handle were negative. Red color stains in the shower curtain and in the west entry hallway were positive. In the bedroom closet, I located a pair of Vans shoes. Tested the soles for the shoes and they were negative. I think a lot of people are trying to say that this one was Jack Showalter. I don't know if it is or not, but here's the thing. If any of these blood samples came back as Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, Xana, anybody in that house, Ann Taylor would have had a reason to fight for that third alternate suspects, but she didn't. All right, let's continue. Okay, so then there's literally nothing until 128. All right. It says here, and these are interviews and tips. On December 3rd, Detective Brown interviewed such and such about his whereabouts on November 12th, 13th, his knowledge of fraternity, and his knowledge of the homicide. During the interview, Blank told us the following. He was previously interviewed during Thanksgiving break. He was asked about the victims. Xana Kernodle was his Greek little. A Greek little is not someone you are pursuing, but a friend who becomes part of the Greek family. He was the blank of his house and currently in transition period after the election, hoping the new guy gets set up. Last year, he was blank. His classes with Maddie Mogen since freshman year, and he met Kaylee Goncalves through Maddie. He and Kaylee started talking about a month prior to the homicide. She would come back with him and stay at the fraternity. She talked on Saturday at the pregame party with Kaylee, apologized to him and wanted to go to the game with him. He had already had plans to go to the sorority formal that evening with blank. Kaylee texted him that night. He ignored it. Kaylee was pretty drunk on Saturday. She was probably texting others to hang out as well. The texts were through Snapchat. Snapchat deletes after 24 hours. They mainly use Snapchat. They will create large 40-person groups on Snapchat to communicate. He was out of the picture on Saturday because of being in the formal. He usually knows where the guys are going to be at and we're comfortable going. This frat is comfortable going to Xana's house for a party. He is unaware of everybody's relationship with the victims. If someone was not allowed to be at Xana's house, he would know. It's just kind of not much there, but he was interviewed. Let's see. Nothing until page 170. I'm telling you guys, like a lot of this is just like tips with random people too. A lot of this stuff is stuff we already known. All right, so here's the I didn't mark this, but this one says here that this is the sale for $6,500. Met her in Hayden, Idaho parking lot, and she was with her father. And this is when they sold the Subaru. And like I said, a lot of this stuff is just like random things too. They picked up this, they looked at that, like tip interviews. Those are just kind of random at times too. Let's see. Let's go to page 170. All right, this is on December 9th, and this is with ISP detective interviewing blank regarding his interactions with Goncalves. First met Goncalves in January 2022, and she was placed blank by the University of Idaho. The only time he had, so this is the person who I know some people are looking at as well. Maybe this isn't. Yes, this is the DNA guy. The only time he had contact with Goncalves outside of the professional relationship is when he took the 3 of his daughters and wife to Goncalves' sorority house to his daughter, so his daughter could sell chocolate bars to the sorority as a funding event for the international trip. The only communication he had with Goncalves regarding her role as a blank was typically via text. He periodically take blank to get coffee after they successfully completed their blank, but he couldn't remember definitely if he had taken Goncalves to coffee during the time there. On the night of November 12th into the early morning hours of the 13th, he was at home with his family. He was with his 3 daughters at home while his wife was at the ladies' night at from about 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Put his children to bed about 9, and then he went to bed shortly after when his wife arrived home at about 10. Blank was agreeable providing. Initially, it was agreeable to provide DNA exclusionary sample, but was hesitant to allow his cellular cell phone to be forensically extracted. Agreed to provide DNA sample later that evening after discussing the matter of the cell phone extraction with his wife. About 5 p.m., contacted me by phone and told me he intended to seek legal counsel before providing the DNA sample or allowing his phone to be forensically extracted. Told me he'd contact me on December 12th. On December 13th, about 5 p.m., I contacted him by phone after he failed to contact me the previous day. He told me he did not believe he had done anything wrong. He had been a good Samaritan by allowing Goncalves to be blank, and he didn't understand why he was on the contact list in the first place. Therefore, he was declining to provide DNA or his phone for extraction. It's a little weird, but I don't know. Probably a number of reasons why people don't want them to go through their phone. The DNA thing, I don't know. That one seemed weird. Page 182 and then 235. So we got 2 more pages, guys. Okay, and this is on December 4th, and this interview took place in Lewiston. Blank had previously sent me videos and photographs that she took with her cell phone on the night of 11/12/2022. been at the party with Blank and several other people before going to 1122 King Road. Blank estimated that she and Blank arrived at 1122 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being passed out drunk. They were both a 7 or a 6. Blank thought she may have been more intoxicated than Blank was. First video she captured at the 1122 King Road, timestamp of 11:13 at just after midnight at 12:43. She and Blank arrived together. Nobody else was at home. She got to the 1122. She went to the bathroom on the second floor and used it. The video begins close up of Blank using a rear-facing camera. She switches to the main camera and zooms in on a pile of clothes in the bathroom. There was a pair of Calvin Klein boxer briefs among them, and believed the clothing to be of Chapin's. The next video, at about 5 minutes later, depicted Blank sitting on the floor in the kitchen petting Murphy. In this interview, Blank remembered that she and Blank were already on the couch watching Vampire Diaries when Blank arrived home. I'm assuming like some of this is Dylan and Bethany and one of their friends that's with them. At 1:24, she took a selfie with Blank. At 1:24, she then took a selfie with Blank and Blank. At 1:28, she took a selfie with Blank. These pictures appear to be taken on the couch. The last picture taken at 1122 King Road had a timestamp of 1:33 in the morning. The picture was of Blank asleep under a blanket. Blank had been dozing off during the movie. The first level of 1122 King Road had an unoccupied bedroom in it and offered the bed to Blank if she wanted to stay the night. Blank considered it but decided to go home. Had previously stayed in a spare bedroom and knew the bed was not very comfortable. Blank stated she didn't pass any of the other 4 roommates on her way home. The first picture Blank had back at her sorority was taken at 2:19, or at her sorority, not her sorority. The picture was a partial bagel on the floor. Estimated it takes about 15 minutes for her to walk from 1122 back to her sorority. Best guess is that she had left the 1122 King Road at about 2 a.m. The only drug use Blank could recall the 4 victims was that Chapin and Kernodle was occasional Blank. And then the last one, 2:35. I mean, there's like literally nothing between there and 2:35. Just a bunch of like random things. So they made going through this a lot easier. As you can see, it's just a bunch of random stuff. And this is referencing the purchase of the vehicle, the Range Rover. Kaylee bought the Range Rover for $24,423. Put $6,500 of cash down. Put $1,000 on a credit card that belonged to her grandmother. There's a total of $7,500. So sometime after Kaylee purchased the Range Rover, the check engine light came on. She called and texted to complain about this. Told her he told her they would come get the car from her if the light did not go off. After the murders, Blank contacted and wanted to return the Range Rover. Apparently, she showed up with her mom and grandma, Christy, and her mom. Yeah, this is so sad. This just happened right before. I mean, it's like you want to reach through the paragraph to where she's purchasing this car and say, "Don't go home. Stay home. Stay in Rathdrum. Don't go back to Moscow." You just can't. It says here that Kaylee had put down $65 in cash, and her grandmother put $1,000 on credit on her credit card, and that Kaylee put on her application she made $3,200 a month, which is not bad. And I mean, it's like 10% of what she's making is what would have gone to her car. It's people are dumb to think that this was some sort of, oh my God, she had a Range Rover, so she must be doing something crazy. According to Blank, Kaylee was a first-time buyer, so her credit was good. She received the car loan without having a cosigner. Today, why do people still victim blame Dylan? It's so effed up. I get it. I mean, it's so bad. I don't understand it. I don't get it either. I don't get it. And then he goes into Bryan Kohberger, which we're going to talk a little bit more about tomorrow. I'll be coming on live tomorrow. I don't know how much we'll go through. Whoa, I saw something green. Yeah, it said Kohberger on it. Yep. Bunch of bad things about Kohberger. Just kind of give you guys a heads up on that. A lot of stuff, guys. A lot of stuff about him being a creep, being a weirdo, being a loser. All right. If you guys got any questions about this stuff, please put some stars. I'll be answering the next questions for the next 5-10 minutes, guys. How sharp is anyone at 4 a.m.? I mean, really, that's true. I mean, she's been intoxicated. She's been drinking. She just got woken up. You know, what is real? What is dream? Those things go in. But put a couple of stars, guys, so I can see what y'all's questions are for me. Stacy comes in with $5 saying, Daniel, I know it takes a lot of time to comb through it and I get ready to present it for us. Thanks for your research. I appreciate that. Yeah, I've been doing this for the better part of all day. I hadn't looked at any of them until today. I've been dealing, obviously everybody knows that my father's in the hospital and he actually got sent home day before yesterday. He's scheduled to go back for his open heart surgery. They moved it from Tuesday to Wednesday, which I'm not very pleased about. I wish it was sooner than later. Me and my family weren't very pleased that they released him home, but at least he's staying here in San Antonio, not too far away from the hospital. So if something does happen, he's right there. So we've been going through those motions and stuff like that. He's doing okay. Thank you for all your thoughts and prayers. The big day will be Wednesday now. And, I probably won't come on live Wednesday, guys, just being 100% honest with you guys. Thursday, I will probably be on late. Maybe there's a good possibility I'm not on Thursday just because I'm actually going to Dallas Thursday morning. Me and the wife, we're going to be, and that might even change depending on how everything goes Wednesday, obviously. But I'm supposed to drop off my car. I have a 3000 GT VR4, twin turbo, all-wheel drive for those that like cars. And I'm getting some stuff done on it, and I'm taking it to a guy that specifically works on those type of vehicles in Dallas on Thursday. So it's a bit of a drive going back and forth, so we'll see if I'm going to come back on. Let's see. But put some stars, guys, so I can see what questions you guys have. Do you think Kohberger was leaving the doors open to the house? I do. I mean, that's his MO, right? It sounds like he had other victims that he was burglarizing. Nayon Ko. Throughout the documents, it appears that there was another lady who Bryan Kohberger was telling people about her medical history. So she believed that he went through her medicine cabinet. Now, he may have gone through the medicine cabinet during the barbecue where everybody was invited. Kohberger showed up super late, but he did show up. And there was another person who saw these footprints in the snow behind her apartment window. And they were very mechanical, backtracked one way, backtracked the other. And if you look at the snow footprints outside of the victim's residence of 1122, they look very mechanical, backtracked also. This guy's a creature of habit. We all are. And so once you start to see what his MO is and what he's doing more than not, he's leaving doors open. This has been something he's been doing since he was burglarizing houses back in Pennsylvania, the Bayless house, the Saba house, all which he agreed and said and went and atoned for and said that it was him. So, yeah. Dan, you said that the police investigated. Hold on, let me put this on the bigger screen now that I'm not doing that anymore. And let me remove this. All right. Dan, you said that the police investigated. It would have taken them about 4 minutes or so for the crime. Don't quote me on that. What do you think he was doing the other minutes? Yeah, it said that they timed him and it was between 2 to 4 minutes for somebody to walk in, go up the stairs, commit they used blood splatter. They used the victim's wounds. So they were able to account for all the wounds and all the splatter on each of the bedrooms and for all the victims. And it took him anywhere between 2 minutes on a fast time and 4 minutes on a slow time. What was he doing? Gosh, you know, he spent most of the time in Maddie's room, I believe. You know, because Xana don't get off TikTok till 4:16. He's in that house about 4:09. It's about 7 minutes that he's up there. That's a long time. That's a long time. What was he doing there? I mean, it sounds like he was doing some horrific things, obviously. He overkilled. You know, it sounds like some of the victims had some serious injuries that were significant and overdone. And so I don't know how long those things take. They didn't find his DNA or anything like that. So there's a good possibility that, you know, he was studying other criminals. I wouldn't be surprised if he studied other criminals to try to figure out what their successes were, what their where they failed. And I think Danny Rawlings was a guy that used vinegar to try to clean up the crime scene to destroy his DNA. I wouldn't be surprised if he was using something like that or doing something like that. Let's see. What's going on? I see some people upset. Why did Kohberger buy Starbucks Frappuccino if he's vegan? I don't know. Is vegan not coffee? But to me, I mean, he was up all night and he was doing quite a few things. So he definitely was up all night. You know, I thought he was on something harder for him to do what he did. Let's see. This is a lot at once. These details are heartbreaking. I'm sorry. Jack Adams' roommates never know. Knowing she said I told Adam everything makes me feel like Maddie was trying to reconcile them. There's a good possibility. That's what it sounded like. Thank you for the prayers. I appreciate that, guys. Do you think he carried a police type mag light and that was what Dylan saw? It was tubular shaped and triangular shaped end. That could explain the second weapon that damaged Kaylee's face. It's possible. You know, I tend to believe that he used the K-bar knife in more than one way, but it's definitely possible. Definitely. I just don't think, I don't think that, Bethany says she saw lights. Maybe there was a flashlight. I don't know. Could be. Thanks, Daniel, for all you do. Prep, hard work you put into your shows, and for being on Discord. You have the best show out there. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Burns. Missy Burns, I appreciate that. Guys, if you're a member and you're not on our Discord, I'll put the Discord link as soon as we end here. Go check it out. Become a part of the conversation. I should wear a cowboy hat next time. Are you talking about like a cowboy hat or Cowboys, like the Dallas Cowboys? Because that ain't going to happen, guys. That one won't happen. But I do have several cowboy hats. Do you think BK had anything to do with the skin dog? I don't know. I have no idea. I've heard so many different rumors about that they believe it was coyotes, and then some people don't. It's plausible. It's plausible that if it was done by somebody, that it could have been him. Damn, that other lady that had someone look into her window and her fiance put up cameras. Did that happen before or after 11/13? It's a good question. It doesn't specify in that report, but my guess would have been, I mean, it had to have been around that time. I mean, he was on the run for 6 weeks, right? And it was in the snow, so it would have definitely have had to have been around early November through the time that he left. It could have been in any time between that time. Definitely wasn't early on in the year. But I don't know. That's a good question. Did it happen before or after? Thank you, guys. I appreciate everybody for your thoughts and prayers for my father. I appreciate that. Since there are drops of blood in both doorways where the murders happened, do you think he stood there looking at them for a period of time? Ooh, that's a good question. I do. I mean, we looked at the drops that were in Maddie's room, and some of it could have been from aspiration because we saw the little dots in them, and I pointed that out. And Steve from True Crime Web, former CSI investigator, he looked at it as well, and he's like, yeah, that could be from that. But the other ones, there were some smaller ones that indicate like force. So I wondered if he like cleaned the blade or like wiped off the blade, and like some of the cast off from his arm and his shoulder fell onto the ground. But I did think that it was an indication that he stood there for extended period of time. As far as for Dylan goes, I think he tried to get, as far as for Xana goes, I think because Dylan yelled out, I think it caught his attention the second time around. I don't think it caught his attention the first time, but I think it got, like, she did it after he said, I'm here for you, and after all the commotion. So he must have heard something, maybe didn't grasp what it was that was said, but heard that somebody vocalized something and knew he had to get out. So maybe he wasn't in that one as long. But I think that had Dylan not said anything, I think he probably would have stayed in there longer. Daniel, do you think he had a gun with him? Oof. That's a good question. I mean, it's a good possibility. I don't know. I mean, I know a lot of people are going to say there's no evidence of a gun, no gun, and I agree there isn't one. But I mean, look at the Richard Allen case in Delphi. He used the gun, not in the manner in which to committed the crime, but intimidation, maybe even as a control aspect, a tool for controlling. Is it possible that he had one on his person? It's possible. It's possible. It sounds like the gun that he had in his basement, it had a record of sale or a bill of sale with it, empty magazines. Sounds like it was brand new. Sounds like he just bought it. Is there any info regarding a strange stains on the kitchen cupboards that were photographed through the windows? Yes, there was. It says that in the kitchen, on the cabinets, and on the floor near the north end by the sink were blood, which told me that he stood there for a period of time as well. Maybe he had something there. Maybe that canister, or maybe there was something he left there, his kit. I don't know. Maybe he left it there in the kitchen, and he went back forward, and as he's bending down, picking it up, or unclothing the top layer of his clothes, maybe perhaps there's blood splatter from moving your arms around so much. But yes, there was. Thank you, Desert Sunset. Thank you. Do you think he heard Xana drop the glass in the kitchen and ran down? No, I don't think so. I think he heard Xana going up the stairs with Murphy. I think for him, and we'll do it one more time. We gotta do it backwards. So if he is telling who's Xana, I'm here for you, Kaylee, then he must think that that's Kaylee. So that tells you he can't see very well. It's dark. It's not lit. And he doesn't know that the person that he attacked in Maddie's room was Kaylee, which makes sense. I mean, it sounds like there was no blood on Kaylee's bedroom. So it sounds like on bedroom door or inside. So it sounds like that was probably the first door opened, right? Because if he opened the after Maddie's, there's a good chance there'd be some sort of blood transfer. I mean, there was blood transfer on all the other doors he entered. So it's more than likely that he opened that door first. Now, he opened it silently. I know a lot of people, including myself, would have thought that would have indicated that Murphy would have gone downstairs and interrupted Xana from TikTok much earlier than 4:12 or 4:16 a.m. But there's no proof or indication that him just opening the door would have been enough to waken Murphy if he was asleep. He may have slept through the initial door opening. And it may have taken some time for him to wake up throughout the altercation that was going on in Maddie's room. And even once he did wake up, we also have to factor in the nerve it would have taken for him to have left the room and run downstairs to Xana. That may not have been instant. It may not have been he woke up and then ran down there. He may have woke up, gotten frightened, and then had to work up the nerve to run down the stairs. to get to Xana's room. Those things are possible, and I think those are probably most likely. Now, if he's telling, again, that if he's thinking that the person that Xana is Kaylee, why is he thinking that that is Kaylee? My assumption is that he's hearing her coming up the stairs singing or whatnot, and talking, having a good time, walking up the stairs with Murphy. Here's Murphy. He's probably assuming that that's Kaylee, because if he opened the door and the crate was behind the door and Murphy was asleep there's a good possibility he didn't even notice that Murphy was in that room. And so, because if he's thinking that that's Kaylee because of Murphy, then he must have not have seen Murphy up there at all. He must be thinking that this is Kaylee getting home with Murphy, going up the stairs, and that's why he thinks it's Kaylee. Now, a lot of people can say, like, well, why do you think that, the girl next to Maddie's bedroom was Kaylee? Well, why would he think that's Kaylee? Kaylee had her own bedroom. Why would Kaylee be sleeping in Maddie's bed? If it was a most likely thing, it's probably, if you're thinking about it, you have somebody that has their own room in that house right across the hallway. The person in Maddie's room is either a friend that doesn't live there or a family member of hers. And so he's probably thinking, oh, here's Kaylee coming up the stairs with Murphy. And so he turns his attention there, goes down the stairs, and we got to wonder, where's the container? Where's this canister, right? Is he running down the stairs chasing her with a canister and the knife sticking out of it? I don't really buy that. I don't think so. If I had to take a guess, the canister was picked up, either maybe something happened and he stole that, and that was a canister that was in there in Xana's room at some point, and maybe he coughed, or I know he had a mask on, but maybe some sweat fell on something, or I don't know what, and he felt the need that he had to take that item with him. Or maybe it was left somewhere in the kitchen, and I'm assuming that based on the statements that it sounds like Dylan, that interaction with Dylan and Bryan Kohberger happened in the kitchen, not necessarily right there in front of her door. That he was in the kitchen and she was there, not necessarily that he was in front of her door. So maybe he had just picked it up, if he left it in the kitchen, picked it up when she opened the door and saw him. That's a possibility. But those things are the ones that kind of make me think and try to figure out what's going on in between there. But I don't think that Xana knew somebody was there. Because she was going up the stairs and she goes, somebody's here, and comes down the stairs. So I don't think she was, I think that interaction with Bryan Kohberger happened up the stairs. And I think it had to do with probably the noise that she was making with Murphy. He probably heard her coming up behind them. I didn't say that. Thank you, Desert. Did you read the report about the backpack kid? About backpack kid? No, I didn't. Let me know which page it's on or which supplement report. I don't recall that. I'm only like on 315. How is Steve? Have you kept in contact with him? God bless him. I did. I talked to him a little bit earlier today. I talked to him yesterday. We talked about football. Today, I was talking to him about the park that was named after Kaylee, and he was telling me how awesome that was. Let's see. I heard you laughing for about 10 minutes there. You had me distracted. Apparently, American Psycho is his favorite movie, and that movie puts music while he kills. Do you think BK was the one playing the music Dylan heard that night? Oh, that's a good possibility. Now that you mentioned that, that's a very good possibility. I didn't think about that one. You definitely, you got me thinking. That's a good possibility. There's a lot of commonalities with the movie American Psycho with Bryan Kohberger. I didn't find him to be very imaginative or have any thoughts of his own. In fact, everything that he's done, it appears that he's imitated somebody else's work. And that includes his Tappa Talk. If you go back to when he was a kid and he was talking about not having emotions, putting on a mask, everybody's a sack of meat, it sounds exactly like some of the things that Patrick Bateman was saying. He has a mask. He doesn't feel anything. There's no emotions. I can hide things, but you don't know that there's nothing behind me. It's just a mask. I mean, it sounds almost identical. Now, when I was watching American Psycho, and I had already read Bryan Kohberger's TED Talk, I was like, man, this guy's copying what this guy's saying. And then I find out that the character's 27 years old in the movie. Bryan Kohberger was 27 when the murders occurred. We also find out that Bryan Kohberger took some pictures in some similar poses as Patrick Bateman in the movie American Psycho, including some that are half clothed. I know the pro-burgers will like that. Even the guys, they probably can't wait to get their hands on those. But yeah, apparently those were there. In fact, the Cellbrite folks say that it was very eerily similar to Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, which was something that I thought Bryan Kohberger was. I mean, if you think about it, he has no imagination. He has no creativity, copies everything. And I mean, even if it goes back to his joke with the Tinder girl about the good birthing hips, that's from Dark Shadows, another movie. So this guy had no identity of his own. That's why he stripped the identity of everybody else. That's why he called his mom and dad mother and father, the people that he ran with as girl he ran with or girl he did this with or whatever the case may be. He stripped their identity because he couldn't find one of his own. Right. And so to me, he was probably looking for somebody to relate to, very young in age. I mean, that's what it sounded like in his Tappa Talk writing. And, at that point in time, he didn't have access to criminology or to the schools or to the professors or to the criminals or the studies, maybe online. But what he did have access to were movies, films, music, those type of things. And we all heard that he was a rapper and this, that, and a third. So apparently he was influenced by that to some extent as far as the music goes. So, yeah, he probably was relating to some of these slasher movies. If you think about Danny Rawlings, he's the one who inspired the film Scream. Guy dressed all in black. Danny Rawlings used a K-bar knife. The Scream character used a very large fixed-bladed knife and terrorized sorority girls. Sounds again like this guy has no imagination. And I venture to believe that he's probably done what he's done with the murder weapons with some of the things that some of the people that he's studied. Because again, he doesn't do anything on his own. Now, he does seem like a guy that's all about control, wanting to control the narrative, control the situation, control the conversation, control the classroom, control whoever's in front of him. I would assume that same type of control would be leveraged onto the murder weapon and that he would not want to lose control of it. So I doubt he would throw it into a large river where he could not retrieve it or know where it's at. He may never be able to retrieve the knife, but he knows where it's at. It's in his mind, it's still in his possession. One of the reasons why I think they should have forced him to give up the area of what he did with it. I mean, obviously he could have lied and said, "Oh, I threw it in the river and they can go search it and never find it." And he really never did. But, there's ways to say, hey, we better find this. If not, you're going to face the death penalty. They could have done something for that knife because now he probably feels some sort of way about it. And it's unfortunate. All righty, guys. I'm going to answer just a few more. Thanks for answering my question and all the terrific insight you have on these horrific cases. Much appreciated. Thank you so much, Crowdcat. Appreciate that. Desert Sunset being a member for 3 months. I appreciate all of you guys. You guys rock. And I'm going to be going into the Bryan Kohberger case tomorrow again. It'll probably be early. I usually go a little bit late, but tomorrow, for those, hey, what's going on, Mikey? I see you in here. But for those that are like football fans, I'm going to talk about the Steelers on a show called the Steel Curtain Network, on a channel called the Steel Curtain Network, on a show called The Steelers Hangover. Comes out about 8 o'clock Central. That's 9 p.m. on the East Coast, 6 p.m. on the West Coast. If you're interested in football and Steelers, check it out. So I'll probably have to come on around 6 tomorrow Central Time to talk a little bit. I hope to get through all of it, but we'll see. What was his planning on doing with the gun he had in PA, you think? We purchased the knife sheath in PA, the knife and the knife sheath in PA, and took it back with him. 3 magazines, gun. I wouldn't be surprised if he was planning something horrific when he got back to Washington State University, especially after they fired him. I think that's probably what it was. It's probably going to be the next active shooter type thing. And it starts with one. I know they're like, oh, it's a handgun, blah, blah, blah. We don't know how many else he had or what else he was planning. And I think that might do it, guys. I'm kind of just running through this real quick, make sure I don't miss anything. You think a K-bar mounted to gun, hence Dylan saying tube and triangular, and it fills the narrative of Bethany hearing a firework and seeing a flash. If it went off, I think it would have been a lot louder, and there would have been gunshot residue in the house. Now, did they test for it? I don't know. Yeah, he does. Well, to a certain extent, the guy in American Psycho was charming. He had girlfriends, and he was successful. He was what Bryan Kohberger was aspiring to be. Bryan Kohberger wanted to be Ted Bundy, but he was more Leatherface. What's up, Mikey? Good to see you, my man. Good to see you. Do you think any links to parents' addiction? I don't know. That's a good question. I think I'm going to have to ask Dr. Vona that one. Do you think that they know what BK bought at Albertsons? Yeah, he bought some coffee. All righty, guys. Well, I'm going to be out of here. I'm going to be back on tomorrow night, about 6 p.m. Central. That's going to be 7 p.m. on the East Coast, about 5 p.m. on the, or not about what, if I'm on 6, that's what, 4 p.m. on the West Coast. So I'm going to be on a little bit earlier tomorrow. So like, comment, subscribe. We're going to talk about the Bryan Kohberger's aspect, the many reports against him, 13 reports against him, complaints from WSU. In a short amount of time, guys. You guys have to remember, he was only there for a short period of time. It's insane. There's so much into this that we're going to be talking about. So make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Until then, peace.